Hello everybody. Who the fuck are you? I can hear you saying. Where the fucking hell have you been? Well, I'm back. It is the 11th of December. And I'm on the first day of my holidays. I've got a month off. Just to make you a lot jealous. Working right up to Christmas. I've got a month off. Now these Christmas holidays this year compared to last year, completely different. Since April I've been working with sane people, doing a sane job in a sane working environment, and let me tell you, those 8 months of working with normal people have changed my life. Honestly, you don't realise, it's like that frog in a boiling pot syndrome. You know, you're up to the pot of boiling water. What the fuck is this cunt waiting for? You're up to the pot of boiling water. Just sneak through the traffic lights there. I'm not waiting. Been waiting for too long. Yeah, you're dropped in this pot of boiling water, and gradually the heat gets brought up to such a temperature that the frog doesn't notice it and it just boils to death. Well, for 4 years at that last school, that's how it was. And then when you dropped into a working environment that's what the real world is like, you don't get it takes you back a bit. I had to say to the bloke I was working with, look, I'm just not used to working with normal people at the moment, so you might have to give us maybe a month and I should be alright. And he looked at me as if I were a bit daft. And then I just give him the highlights of my last 4 years. And he was like, this is going on in Japan. I said, fucking too right. Now, I know I've been doing the biography episodes, last 3 or 4 episodes. So you've not heard my dulcet Yorkshire tones going on and fucking moaning, which is a relief to some, to others not so much. So I'll just give you a hit point from the people I were working with. 4 years ago, in depths of COVID, when I started at that new job, I sat down next to this unhinged Norwegian woman who were always picking at her hair to the point where she was making herself bald. And I noticed this within the first 5 minutes of being sat at side of her. Oh, that's a bit fucking weird. So for the first couple of days, I just ignored it, but she kept pulling away at her hair. And then she'd ask me questions, you know, about where I'm from and my family. And I think the second conversation in, I sort of shared the information that I had 2 kids. And it sort of made her bristle a bit. And I thought, fucking hell, hey, up here, I've got one on hook. Here. Now, obviously, knowing, you see that sort of person, you think, oh, they ain't got kids. And they never fucking should. So I just said to her, have you got kids? And I could see her brain ticking over. And she said to me, if I ever have children, I'll have them here. I'll give birth to them, I'll make sure they're stable, and then I will take the first flight that I can to Norway, and I will drop that said child off with my mother and father and come back to Japan and carry on working. Now imagine your second conversation with a co-worker is that. I just thought to myself, right, I'm working with a fucking maniac. I'm working with an unhinged maniac. Now when you think, this has happened twice to me. I don't know, I get, I'm the magnet for that sort of shit, for these sort of people. I seem to be, throughout my life, I have been a magnet for these people. I mean, if I just randomly throw out the question, how many times have you had an arm wrestle with a Down syndrome kid on a crowded train? How many times? No, the majority of the world will say 0. 4. For me, 4. And they've been in 3 different countries. So it seems that my fucking retard magnet is of an international gene. You know, they all come out of the fucking woodwork when they see the Darren show coming to town. Yeah. I think most recent time it happened, we were in Ofuna with my family in Ofuna, and this kid came up to me. Mid-late 20s. Milk bottle bottom glasses. Shaking my hand. Come on, do you want to wrestle? Well, not really. And then he's asking for my name. And I told him, I'm Tom from Alabama. And then he were asking my wife in Japanese, is his name Tom? Is his name Tom? Is he from Alabama? Give me your phone number, give me your phone. Yeah, I'm that fella. I'm that fella that they all fucking swan to. And it seems I'm also the fella that gets jobs amongst these people. And this is the first job I've had in, when it's 2016? 8 years. 8 years. Imagine that. Imagine working in 3 different jobs over 8 years and there's always been one of them fucking retards. Yeah, I'm that. I'm that fucking person. So this last 8 months has been, it's been an absolute paradise, but it's a paradise that I'm not used to basking in. Yeah, going on about this this unhinged lady. When you get into work, you know, you get into work at 8:20, you know, your work starts at 8:30, 8:45, and you just sit down and you scratch your ass, have a coffee, and then around 8:45 you ease yourself into it. You're not sat down and boom, straight off. Are you fucked? No way. Nobody does that. Apart from this fucking nightmare. So we were sat down one day and I'm reading news on BBC and reading news in Japan Times online, and it turns out this Japanese fella had tried it on with his co-worker. He's tried it on with his co-worker and she's called him out on it. It's ended up going to court and he's had to pay a fortune out. He's lost his house, his wife, kids have gone. He's lost everything. And he's just tried it on with his wife. And all he's done is made a pass at one of his co-workers. So innocently, you know, forgetting for a brief moment that, oh, you're not in the presence of a normal person. I forgot. So it's all on me, this. I just said to her, of all the women in the world, I pointed at the headline, I said, of all the women in the world, he's had to try it on with his co-worker. It could have been anybody and it'd have probably been alright. You know, why would you try it on with your co-worker? Now, in my mind, a normal response would be, yeah, he's lost everything, what an idiot. But with this one, again, she started bristling again, as if I'd just asked her if she'd got any kids. She said to me, without any sense of irony or any joke, she said to me, just so you get this right, let's just get this right before we move on any further. That is not going to happen here. I said, what are you talking about? She said, if you perform any behaviour like that, that is just not going to happen here. And I laughed. I fucking laughed. Because I thought she was joking. And then she said, well, what are you laughing at? I said, I'm sorry, I thought you were joking. And she said, I'm not joking, I am deadly serious. So I said, well, I'm just going to have to pull you up there, young lady, because I've been married for thick end of 12, 13 years. I've got 2 wonderful kids who I adore. And for the first time in my life, for the very first time in my life, I think I'm experiencing happiness. I don't really know what it is, because it's never happened to me before, but for the first time in my life, I think I'm happy. Now, if you think for one moment I'm going to risk that on a 2, in a good light, a 3, you are sorely mistaken. So don't you worry your little self about that. There's going to be no wondering hands coming from this side of the desk. And I think one of my greatest achievements in that 4 years was, over the next 5 days, she pulled out such a clump of hair from side of her head that I was sat on, that she'd got no sideburns left, and she had a patch above her left ear that were twice the size of a postage stamp. Yeah. Fucking mentally ill. The mentally ill, they walk among us, and the old high-powered jobs. You know, and if you were to have somebody with a weaker constitution than me, somebody that would agree to all this shit, which the world seems to be doing at the moment, you end up fucking being like these fucks. When I saw all that woke shit online, I thought it were a joke. Again, you think it's a joke until you start working with these fucking the Gen Zers or millennials. You start working with these millennials or these Gen Zers, and it's like, oh right, yeah, it's fucking real. You've had no adversity in life. You learn everything off the fucking internet. Your parents have been fucking there or thereabouts your entire life. You've never put yourself in a dangerous situation. You don't know how to get yourself out of a dangerous situation without use of the internet. You're fucked. You're absolutely fucked. So about 3 or 4 weeks into that job, when I caught her going through my computer when she thought I'd left the school, I just stopped talking to her. And then for 4 years, the Japanese fella I was working with decided, I'm not speaking to you either, which, fine by me. I'm a Yorkshireman. If knobheads don't want to talk to you, that's like they're doing you the favour. Can you imagine if a couple of fucking dickheads decided, all right, we're not talking to you anymore? Well, yeah. My fucking idea of hell is if you don't stop talking to me, the fact that you are voluntarily, it's one word I can't say, you are volunteering yourself not to talk to me, you are doing me the greatest favour. And then for 4 years, I did nothing. Nothing. Everything was kept from me. I would go in, sit down at my desk, I'd have nothing to do. And when I say nothing, I mean nothing. I built this podcast, I built my YouTube channel, I built a website. I did everything in them 3 years, and this is where we are now. fact is, I'm just pulling into a bike shop. Right, let me just stop there for a minute while I just have a look at these bikes and then we'll crack on. Obviously, it's fucking shut. Alright, let's have a meander down Bit River. I mean, look at this weather. Look at this weather. Look where you find me. We are 10th of December. In fact, I'm going to turn the camera now. I'm going to turn camera so you can get a sense of where I am. I mean, look at this. 10th of December, Kanagawa, Japan. I mean, minimum. I'm not even in winter clothing. If you were in England, you'd be wearing this in maybe mid-autumn. It's not that cold at all. I mean, I'm not sweating. Right, I can head down towards the sea now. Yeah, so the fact that I was fired from this job were a bit of a blessing in disguise. Now I am in Tokyo, and that is 2 hours on train every day when I'm going to Tokyo, but I'm setting off from Zushi, and the train starts in Zushi, so you always get a seat. I'm leaving at 10 to 7. I'm up anyway because I'm online. I'm working online for an hour or so. And then you get into Tokyo, and I'm only working till 12:30, and then I'm done. The powers that be know that I can get the job done right, and they've just said to me, look, you, Darren, get yourself out at door at 2. I know you've got miles to go home. So they're letting me go an hour early, because I'm only really contracted till 3. And it's one of those rare places where, especially in Japan, if there's naught to do, they just sort of have you sat there like fixtures and fittings. It's weird, you know. There's absolutely naught to do. You've got everything done. Now, what I used to do at the old place, obviously the people I was working with were not going to let me do anything. They didn't let me do it. Well, they didn't even fucking speak to me. They didn't even communicate with me. And the thing here in Japan is if your co-worker's not commuting with you, what you usually do, not communicating with you, what people usually do is they will kiss ass, they will buy presents, you know, please talk to me, let's work as a team. Well, let me tell you, you're fucking barking up the wrong tree if you're expecting me to do that. I will sit in a fucking awkward silence and be the most comfortable person in the room. You want to make this fucking situation awkward? You know, when you've been raised by an alcoholic, I've been in more awkward, embarrassing situations that would last a fucking lifetime, a multitude of lifetimes. Seeing your fucking mother make a fool of yourself when you're a teenager, you're like, oh my God. So I have sat through shit like that. So 4 years of somebody not saying anything to me, I'm Mr. fucking comfortable, and you're not letting me do any work. Even better, You don't want to talk to me. You're not letting me do any work. And I'm getting paid. Sign me up. Sign me the fuck up. And they did. They did for 4 years. So when they fired me and I get this new job, you know, my main thought was, oh, I'm not going to get paid for doing nothing anymore. But then you realise when I started my new job and you're doing real work that makes a difference, what are we missing out on? I mean, I was getting money for nothing, but I want really growing without sounding like a fucking hippie. I want really pushing myself forward. I mean, I built my own business in that 4 years on their dime. Thank you very much. But as for me people skills, yeah, that wasn't happening. Because, you know, people won't communicate with me. But now I'm good. If I were working at that old place, I would still have another 2 weeks of work in front of me. As it stands now, I'm off. I've been off for a couple of days now, but I just had some errands to do today, which I'm able to cycle. I'm able to bring this podcast to you, and I'm able to sort my errands out. Now, when you get yourself in this positive mindset, fucking this unexpected good shit sort of comes out of the woodwork, which had not really been happening for the last 4 years. And let me give you an example on that. So in Japan now, because there's so many fucking old people that just one day will keel over and drop dead. And then, because the way that Japan society is now, the fucking newspapers are mounting up in post box, and nobody's really taken any notice. And then about 4 years later, somebody will go to this house and break in, and there'll be an old fucking woman there, or old man, skeletal, in front of telly, been dead 3 or 4 years. So these people are dying, and nothing's getting shut up, because kids don't bother with the parents here that much, really. Not like in England, where you're in each other's pockets all the time. Oh, there's none of that shit here. So what you have is you've got these bank accounts all over Japan that are just not getting used, but the banks are having to do the paperwork on them, and it's costing a fortune. So they've been putting out advertisements on telly and on news saying, look, there's a banking system in Japan. If you're not using your bank account, if your bank account's been dormant for a year or more, we're going to start giving you a charge every year. So they'll charge you 50 quid a year if you're not using your bank account at all. So what we did was a few Thursdays back is we went and closed our accounts. So my wife closes hers and I close mine at UFJ at the same time. And they asked us to go and sit down. Well, they did it. So we sat down for about 15 minutes and the call was over. And my wife gets given this bank book that she can't use anymore, and a card's cut in half. And I am past a fucking pile of money that I had no idea I had. Counted it out, like 215,000 yen. Like a fucking grand. £1,000, which I had no idea about. And as a fucking tight-ass Yorkshireman, if you have any idea the joy I was feeling at that moment, you can stick having kids, seeing the birth of your child and getting married up your ass. Somebody gives you £1,000 you didn't think you had. You are as happy as a dog with two dicks. So we get the money. I put my wad in my wallet, put it back at Farah, and then I said, right then, let me buy you a coffee. So I took the bread knife for a coffee, I let her push boat out and got her some cake as well. No expense spared, it's free money. Free money. And then I get the inevitable shopping list of what's needed in house. I don't know if you can see that. You see that? Just over the bridge? Well, I stand in the middle of the road on my bike in Mount Fuji there. You see it? Maybe you can't. Anyway, let's piss off before I get knocked down. Yeah, so the shopping list. Now, it is stuff that we do need for the house, but it's stuff that I would have put off until the 2060s. So 200,000 yen, new Dyson. I mean, the old one is definitely on its last legs, but I would have fucking beat that donkey until it dropped dead on us. So there we go, Dyson. That's 40. So I'm down to 160. And then as bikes are starting to fall apart, there's not enough bikes. We've got 2 electric, I've got 1, the lad's got 2 bikes that he's grown out of, and my daughter ain't got a bike, she's sharing a bike with me lad, so a bicycle needs to be bought. I've just been and had a look at the bikes there. It looks like I'm going to be forking out 40 or 50 grand, so that's 90. Now in Japan you've got these jukus, which you don't really need, to be honest. I don't think you need anyway. But Japanese parents seem to think if you're not spending money on your kids' education, you're not a good parent. Whereas I would say is, well, fucking studying's as boring as shit. Why don't we spend money on something they enjoy? So the lad is going to a fancy football school, and my daughter's joined this tennis club, as well as the jukus, the after schools, the cram schools. And that, out of my 200,000 yen, that has left me with the grand total of 12,000 yen. 12,000 yen. So, for Christmas I got to spend 60 quid on myself. 60 quid. So my final errand today was taking a cycle over to Ofuna, getting into Uniqlo. I bought myself 3 shirts, 2 pair of underpants, and I'm going to get myself a fancy coffee from a coffee shop on the way home. Now, I were up this morning at 5:30 working online, and I started to watch the Blackburn-Sheffield Wednesday game, but it started just cutting out every now and again, so I switched over to Burnley. Who were Burnley playing? Burnley someone. Anyway, Burnley were at home, and I was speaking to my friend Sharon, who's the photographer there, and she was saying to me, it's -3 here, and she sent me a photo of herself, and I felt a cold. Now my message to her, as I just crest this road where the sea is, you can see it there, the sun's beating down on me, there's a few clouds in the sky, but it's blue, the sea is blue, the sky is blue, the trees are green. I could be doing this cycle without any gloves on and I'd still feel comfortable. But yeah, it were -3 in Burnley, and it wasn't raining, but it looked fucking cold. And I was just thinking back, Valley Parade, Bradford City's ground in February would make the summit of Everest feel like Ibiza. You know, I've watched games in that stadium in the winter, and all the feeling from my hips down had gone. Absolutely freezing. So, I'm on holiday. There'll be a few more of those biography episodes coming up. I'm going to get myself home. I'm going to edit this down. And my ramblings are back. The busyness of work has finished for a month. So, wrap up warm, tune into the Just Passing Through podcast and listen to a man in his mid-50s moan. You lucky people. Happy holidays, everybody. Adios.